Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome in to Game Over Toronto. It looks like I already have technical difficulties off the bat, as you cannot see my co-host Lauren Williamson. I will try my best to get that up and going as soon as possible. I promise. Sorry about that. But welcome in everyone to Game Over Toronto. I'm Zach Payne, and the Leafs get their first win of the season, 4-2 over the New Jersey Devils. And I apologize again, everyone. I'm just going to take 2 seconds and fix those technical difficulties. Good, yeah. Oh.
Big deal. Deep breath and go.
All right, let's go, everyone. We are just going to work through these technical difficulties on the fly. Again, so sorry about that. Did not intend on this happening in the first stream of the season. But yeah, the Leafs win 4-2. It was a very clean game overall. I don't think anyone would really be shocked to say that this is what a traditional Leafs win is going to look like throughout the season. 4-2, the Leafs looked good for most of the game. There were parts of it that weren't as good, but again, it's kind of a give and take with the Leafs, as you're going to have, new coach. They're adjusting to different schemes, and I don't know. We'll figure it out as we go. But they got up 4-1 in the second period before allowing another goal late, and the Devils tried to come back, weren't able to. And now, as you can see, we have Lauren Williamson coming up on screen. One moment there.
And they've been able to hear me. And they've been able to hear me the whole time, luckily. So, yes,
Beautiful.
the Leafs turned the page on yesterday's awful game. I'll give you a second, Zach, to try to start to clip me. But different from playing last night. It's like last night they looked like a preseason team and not an actual football hockey team. So, definitely happy to see that they changed. Definitely happy to see that they some pucks in the net. Patrick, brand new Leaf, and Guy on redemption starts us off the season. And what a great way to start this season for Pageants.
Yeah, and that third line as a whole was very awesome. We saw that play was off of a beautiful Nick Robertson rush that wound up creating some sustained pressure. And that was really a theme of the game, where the Leafs were actually doing, similar to last night in Montreal that I know you and Andrew talked about, where the Leafs were able to get a lot of sustained pressure. They were very good at preventing breakouts. And as a result, they a lot of shifts where the Devils were trapped for 40, 50, 60 seconds and not able to change.
Yep.
Especially in the second period. The Leafs have been running second period so far, which is something that we've seen them do in stretches in the past because they have so much talent. But it's nice to see that that's continuing to brew with an improved forecheck as well.
Well, and being able to bank on top of it, right? Like being able to actually score a goal. Last night, in the third period, the Leafs really seemed to turn the page in terms of like effort and forecheck and actually creating good opportunities and getting really close a couple of times, but they weren't able to score. And so tonight, for them to start the way that they did, there were no super early penalties, which was great to see. We didn't see it until far later in the period. And by the time that the Leafs go on the PK for the first time, they've already scored 3 goals, which is a great way to start. It's, again, night and day from how it was yesterday. So I don't know about you, man, but I couldn't be happier with how they played tonight. Obviously, there's lots to learn. There's still lots of growing pains. Hildeby looked pretty good, and we'll obviously talk about that later. But yeah, game 2, tied 1-1 for the season so far. Basically 50% chance of winning the cup. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and this is a return to form, right? Obviously, this is the type of script you'll see 35 times this year, assuming the Leafs are as good as we expect them to be. But more importantly, this game had some extra value, if you will, because Sheldon Keefe, his first game coaching against the Leafs, a bit of a revenge game. It was the Leafs that ended up exacting that revenge and coming out on top in New Jersey. Now they'll travel, I believe Saturday is the home opener against Pittsburgh for a Kyle Dubas revenge game. So we'll see how that goes. Now, before we head into our first official segment, just going to hit you guys with a little ad read, of course. We got to hype up our flagship show, Hyperdrive Hockey, on the Game Over Network. It's hosted by Maxime Van Huet, I believe is how they pronounce that name, and Daphne Malbeuf. I'm so sorry, guys, if I butcher those names.
I think it's Malbeuf.
Malbeuf. Hyperdrive Hockey covers the sport at large with a relevant humor, quality analysis, and a strong
Yeah.
Voice that's unafraid to talk about real issues. Again, it is the flagship show of our network. You can catch them on the Game Over Network on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. They will be broadcasting twice a week, every Tuesday and Friday throughout the season. So be sure to go check them out here. And we will head in to our first segment. And I want to start off by hyping up the bottom six. Now, you were talking about this last night with Andrew. The Leafs' fourth line. It started off yesterday, Steven Lorentz, Ryan Reeves, and David Kampf. A bit of a mishmash of different personalities, of different player styles. But today, they swap out Reeves, they bring in Bobby McMann, and that line looked even better. They were dominant on the forecheck. Incredibly fun line. Like, having Bobby McMann there instead of Ryan Reeves just adds a whole extra layer of speed and for like tenacity on the forecheck. Steven Lorentz has been phenomenal through 2 games. I've thought he was one of the best players, and he gets on the score sheet with a goal and an assist. Bobby McMann scores, and yeah, like, what did you think and love about that fourth line today?
Everything. I like the fact that even though last night the fourth line at times looked like the best and most put together line, I mean, even though they didn't score, they had a couple of really big shifts that really created some momentum for the Leafs that, again, they weren't able to capitalize on. But like you said, tonight, Bobby McMann coming in for Ryan Reeves, which is great. And obviously creating a bunch of scoring opportunities. You know, the Leafs in the last few years haven't had a lot of security in the fourth line. It was just kind of like a bunch of guys. They didn't really have a role. They didn't have really pose a scoring threat with any kind of regularity. Not tonight is going to be the regular thing, but just the way that they were able to create opportunity and really put themselves in a good position, and then to be able to capitalize on it. Like, I couldn't be happier with how the fourth line is. And if all it means is that Bobby McMann and Ryan Reeves swap in and out depending on who they're playing, like in against maybe Boston, you put Reeves in, right? That's like the easy play. But Bobby McMann is a fairly big guy. Now, we'll talk about how well Nyes trucked over a member of the Devils earlier and did a complete hit the X and reverse hit on the guy going into the zone. But Bobby McMann is no small creature. And so for him to be able to get an opportunity, you create a little bit of internal competition for the fourth line, which is not something that you're usually worrying about, or that we have had the option for in the past, that we can consider it a scoring threat. And so tonight, for them to be rewarded not only with a goal, but with an assist is huge. I have to imagine that line is feeling good. And Steven Lorentz specifically, like, you know, coming back and having another game as strong as it was last night, and actually being able to capitalize, like, that guy must be just riding the high so well right now. So I couldn't be happier. And then, you know, the other half of the bottom six, what was that Frankenstein line of Holmberg, Robertson, and Pacioretty that happened a couple times tonight? Even that, because both of those lines have significantly more speed than it looked like they've had in the last season. Am I crazy for thinking that?
I don't think so. Especially the David Kampf lines over the years, ever since they got rid of Pierre Engvall and Ilya
And it's
Mikheyev.
fast, man.
Yeah, like they haven't had a fast shutdown line. So
No.
I would say, like, as far as the fourth line goes, this game proves to me that Ryan Reeves never needs to be on the ice again, because I have never loved that signing from the get-go. He has some value, but not much really at all. I think Kay was tweeting out yesterday, like, if Xhekaj and Reeves aren't fighting, what's the point of this game? And that would imply that Reeves is doing something, which is, you know, a tall order for him. But I think Bobby McMann actually adds something of value to that line. Mm-hmm. And just the fact that, you know, you can deploy that line confidently now as a checking line. And Steven Lorentz has been, I mean, just a complete revelation. So, and the third line,
Yeah.
Nick Robertson has had a pretty good couple games to start the year. He hasn't had the most scoring chances, but I have loved his tenacity. He's a small guy. He's going to get bumped around a little bit. That's just something you kind of have to accept with him. There was one play, though, later in the game when the Leafs had their second power play, where he gets the puck and the Devils player is forechecking him hard, like pressing him hard. And if Robertson lost that battle, it's a breakaway the other way. And he just buckled down. He kept fighting, and he managed to keep zone and keep possession, and the Leafs were able to get some pressure on the power play, which is a rarity apparently through 2 games. He's been awesome. Holmberg, he played with Matthews and Marner a little bit towards the end as Nyes got wrapped up on the power play, but that line as a whole looked pretty solid. Pacioretty, he's not going to wow you anymore with his skating or his skill, but he's a very smart player. You know, he's a veteran. He knows how to score in this league, and he knows just go to the net and good things happen. And he gets rewarded for it in this. He gets the first goal of the game, which I know a lot of people were happy about that because he's wearing number 67, so he has to score the first goal of the year. It's a whole thing. I don't know. Leafs conspiracy theories are always fun.
Yeah, we're almost as bad as Taylor Swift fans. And I can say that because I'm a Taylor Swift fan. But yeah, like for Pacioretty, for the first three goals in this game to be scored by the bottom six is like pretty remarkable. Again, you can't really ask for more in that sense. No. You know, and in years past, we haven't had a lot of bottom six scoring, but we've managed to get it in the playoffs occasionally. So if they're already starting to build this kind of chemistry this early and they're able to not necessarily carry it through, producing like, you know, 3 goals of 4 of the night, that's not my expectation. But, you know, if you can kick in a goal a night or a goal every other night, like that's pretty good. And that's all you can really ask of your bottom six. And that's not something that the Leafs have had with any kind of regularity in the last couple of years. So, yeah, I couldn't, I'm tickled pink, man, honestly. Like for even the McMahon goal, that pass from Jake McCabe right at the line, like it was like a 270-degree spin. It wasn't a full 360, but it was pretty close. And there was, you know, all night it seemed like both teams were getting a lot of screens in on their goalies. You know, the first New Jersey goal goes in because of a really bad screen. And then the second one, there wasn't a screen, but there was, you know, Benoit's stick exploded 3 seconds beforehand and you have no stick. And it's really hard to defend against that, especially when it's coming right down in front of you. So, you know, all things considered, especially that first 20 minutes was, again, night and day from how it was yesterday. So even going into the second period, that's when the power plays and PKs really started clicking. You know, the PK gets 5 opportunities tonight. The power play gets 2. They aren't able to capitalize on either one. I know we're going to talk about that in a second, but you know, just for the second period, it really seemed like that bottom line, even though they didn't score again, was even pushing even harder. Kampf has always been fairly quick. He's low-key been one of my favorite players the last couple seasons. I know he's overpaid, but in the last couple of years, he has provided a level of defense that not a lot of the other forwards have provided. And so for him to actually have somebody in Steven Lorentz that's going to put the puck in the net, actually going to do good on those opportunities, and Bobby McMahon is just, I mean, he's the best part of chemistry on that line as well. That line, play it every day.
Yeah.
Like you said, like get rid of Reeves. There's no reason anymore.
I like Lorentz has been phenomenal on the forecheck. He's a big body. He's not afraid to hit people. He is everything that you want from Ryan Reeves, which is the physicality and you know, willingness to stand up for his teammates. And there's other guys throughout the lineup that did that as well. Benoit stood up for Nyes at one point in this game, but he also actually brings skill as well. So Bobby McMahon, I think, is too complete of a player to have on the fourth line, but as long as he's there, I'm going to kick back and enjoy it because that is a very fun energy line and one that I actually don't have any anxiety over playing anymore.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing, right? If the other team is able to get a changeover, you're not panicking about who they're up against, right? Like, you know, if they have to hold a fort down for 20 seconds, they can do it, and they proved that tonight. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know New Jersey's been out of the playoffs the last couple of years, but that's a good team, man. You know, Dougie Hamilton's back. A lot of the players that were off last year that missed time, everybody's back. And they have a brand new coach. You know, they're feeling good coming out of their Europe trip. You know, they were 2-0 going into tonight. And so for the Leafs to kind of, you know, take the wind out of their sails tonight was, you know, pièce de résistance.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, on the whole, I know we probably have some qualms with the top six. John Tavares did have a nice goal in this game. It is worth mentioning a very nice goal where he Nemeth, I believe, and Domi made a nice play as well.
Vintage JT, man. That was vintage JT.
Yeah, I was like audibly shocked when that happened.
I say vintage younger than I am.
I mean, regardless though, you got to credit.
Shocked? I think it's still do that.
Yeah, I was a little surprised because it's like it's one of the goals that have like plus every 30 game, right? Like he tries 10 goals a time, but they don't always go out. To see them very happy, and I was a little surprised. Yeah.
Well, I was surprised too. Like he's pretty good, pretty close to the net, but right in the face-off circles, basically, maybe a little bit lower. But no, his and like the nice little stick right before to get a little bit of space. Like, you know, as good a goal as you can ask for, captain. Yeah. And then, you know, the Leafs go up 4-1, feel pretty good about themselves, and then as the second period comes to it in the 5 seconds, Timo Myers to get them back with it. And then they head into the third period, up 4-2. Again, 2-goal lead, 4-1 lead, most dangerous one in hockey. And then going into the third period, it seemed like New Jersey was really trying to turn the Jets on and get a little bit more offense going. And they had a couple of incredible opportunities that Hildeby was able to hold on to. Like, I must have Hildeby saved 15 times on my third period spot here.
Yeah, and we'll get into Hildeby in a second. In the meantime, I'm going to switch us over to our second segment. This is where we have to have a talk here with the fans. The special teams are still a concern, and I know you have a lot of thoughts on the power play. I have some thoughts on the penalty kill. I'm going to let you sound off on the power play to start off.
Oh my God. You mean the 0 for 7 power play? And if we're I know it's a new season and everything, but they are now 1 for 28 in terms of continuity of last season. Again, I know some of the people are the same, but they are still continuing to try and roll this monster power play line 1 of the core 4 and Morgan Riley, and it just sucks to watch. Like that last power play that New Jersey got. Oh no, the second last power play, the Benoit roughing power play, or the PK that we had was just brilliant. The power play that they had right towards the end of the game, the pull down on Hildeby was just they spent the first 45 seconds playing monkey in the middle with New Jersey Devils, and it was just like, what do we pay you $40 million for if you can't get down and on the guys that are playing monkey in the middle on you? Like you're outnumbered. You're outnumbered on the power play. And how does that math? Like, it doesn't make sense how some, like, 5 players that are so unbelievably individually talented are able to just completely shit the bed on the power play when you're supposed to have a 2-minute advantage. Like, more than once in the last season and a half, 2 seasons, let's just put it the way that it is. I would rather just not have the power play and just play it 5-on-5 because we're so much better on the 5-on-5 than we are on the man advantage. And it makes no sense. And I don't know what to do about it other than literally split them all up and never let all 5 of them play together ever again. It's just, they do so much nothing and they waste so much time doing nothing. And it just makes my head hurt. It just makes my head hurt.
Yeah, and coming into this game in particular, I know Craig Berube called for more direct action towards the net. Where was it? It wasn't there, at least from the top unit. The second unit has outperformed the top unit in 2 games. And a big part of that, I talked about it earlier. Robertson had that one play where he was just he showed tenacity with this to hold on to the puck. But the only reason that the second unit got zone time is because Robertson said, you know what? I'm sick of this drop pass nonsense. I'm going to dump it in. Nyes can go get it because he's been a tank all game. He's been great on the forecheck. He goes, gets the puck. The Leafs get control. Then they get a face-off and they get more sustained pressure because you got to switch it up every once in a while. We've been seeing the same nonsense on the dropbacks for at least like half a decade at this point.
Yeah.
And when has it worked? When has it worked consistently?
Nope.
And
it hasn't. And they keep trying it.
The part that makes me so fucking mad is they insist on doing this drop pass, right? The whole point of the drop pass is to freeze everyone so that you can slice the neutral zone. And yet, they refuse to give the puck to their best neutral zone player in William Nylander. I love Austin Matthews to death. He's one of the best players in the league. But skating through traffic in the neutral zone is not his best. He can do it, but not at an elite level like Nylander can. Marner sometimes can. Not as good as William Nylander. No. Like, God, sorry. Around the league, this is a frustration around the league that a lot of fan bases have been getting mad at, and I'm blaming this all on Connor McDavid because he makes this shit look so easy that every other team is trying to replicate it except they don't have a Connor McDavid and so they can't, and now every fan base is forced to suffer watching their teams do drop back passes to try to get the zone on the power play and no one else can do it. It's frustrating.
Yep. The crazy thing is like the best chance that the Leafs had on the power play tonight came on their first power play, the Dylan tripping on McCabe, and it was the tic-tac-toe play that they tried, and with Matthews right in front of that, it's the only shot that they had on the power play that looked like even a hint, a fart of a threat. Like honestly, it was the best opportunity that they had, and other teams play that way and score. And the Leafs, what do? They keep trying to be cute with it on the first line, and the double drop back pass. Zach, I could literally hug you right now because no one I have done game over with has shared in my just deep-seated hate of the double drop back pass. Like people at my work make fun of me because I talk about it so much. I'm not kidding. Like my regular day job, they know I talk about it. And it still doesn't work. It still doesn't work. And you keep trying it, and I don't know why. Yeah. Yeah. Or literally turn at the red line like you always do and have another guy waiting right at the half wall, ready
Every
to get
time,
into
yeah.
the zone and waiting for the puck because you will fuck the whole team up. Okay. The game last night, which I know that you watched, right? One of the wonderful plays that Montreal did in the first power play was they tried this tic-tac-toe pass where Caulfield scored. And then on their second power play, right, they pretended and they set up like they were going to do the same thing, but they changed it and it fucked the team up and it worked. And so they built themselves this brand and this awful habit of this awful entry. And so if somehow I pray to the Lord that they recognize that this isn't working and that other teams do these like trick plays almost where they're like, oh, just kidding, faked you out. And if they started turning that into like a second entry effort, like it would fuck everybody up and every team would be nervous and they wouldn't be so bold in the neutral zone. The Leafs in the neutral zone are not good. They're not good. And if you watch, they instead of having them like their players properly staggered and with proper spacing, by the time everybody gets in, you have 10 players. You have all five of your players, and usually the other five players of the other team, or maybe the other four, all crowding the smallest zone on the ice. And then they can't get space, and then they end up turning it over, and they end up having to play catch up with the other team. And it's like Groundhog Day every time with this stupid power play. And it's a different coach. Like, I don't understand how they're still doing the same thing with different people in charge. Like, don't you people watch game tape? Ugh.
At what point is it just the players? At what point is it the personnel?
If at what I don't know. Like, do the coaching staff really have so little control over the people that are on their team that they can't go, if you do this again, I'm fucking benching you and you're not getting on the power play again for another week? Like, I'm not usually one to issue threats, but like, if it's your player, if you're giving instruction to not do that and they are insisting on doing it, then obviously the personnel is the problem. And having that combination of players isn't working because they're going to go to it every time. So don't give them the option. Don't give them the option.
I think for me the biggest problem, especially once they're in the zone and set up, is like we know that they go through the motions. They don't really execute with any real, I don't even know, intensity on the power play. They just kind of
Right.
they're looking for the perfect shot, the perfect
Sneaky pass.
deflection. Like over the years, the Leafs power play, mainly like their top unit because it has elite players, has been at its best in controlled chaos situations where The play is completely broken down. No one is in the position that you planned them to be. But these elite players
And you're
are just
improvising.
yeah, you're just literally improvising
Yeah.
because the PK doesn't know what to expect when three of these players are all of a sudden stacked on one side. And so it's just, chaos, organized chaos. We need more of that. We need less of this formulaic bullshit. And it's just bad. I don't know what it'll take.
And one of the other things that I actually noticed tonight, because there was so much opportunity to look at New Jersey's power play, again, I'm trying this season instead of looking at RPK because RPK has been pretty good the last couple of years. And even this season, like we're doing pretty good. We're giving up too many penalties, right? Like we've given up 10 minutes of extra man advantage to the other team in both of the games so far, which is not simply not good enough, right? If they take one less penalty, then maybe they're only 4-1 and they don't get a power play goal, statistically speaking. But again, just guessing in a nice universe where they don't take penalties. Um, you know, one of the things that New Jersey did, and even the Habs and other teams that I've sort of been watching so far, at no point are on the power play are three of their players like super close together. And the Leafs like have attachment issues, and they look like they're on bungee cords to each other, where the three forwards, once they have a puck, three of them are going to be close to each other because they just want to get a pass nice and close to each other. Instead of these really nice creating open space and forcing the defense to spread apart, you're continuously like compressing it down and down and down, which sometimes they're able to capitalize on, right? We saw tonight that someone in the goalie's eyes, regardless if it's your player or the other team's player, can create a scoring opportunity. But
In particular, for this game specifically, William Nylander had a rough game. I counted at least 4 turnovers on the man advantage.
Yeah.
He also took a really stupid penalty at the end of the game and almost took an unsportsmanlike with it for slapping the puck towards the referee. He was
and you can see he was pissed.
Yeah, but like I know that Hughes went down easy, but you can't wrap a guy up with both hands. Like,
no, I think it's all self-inflicted. I think he's mad at himself. I don't think he's mad at the ref. That was an obvious like holding.
I hope he's mad at himself because that was stupid. Now to switch over a little bit more concretely to the penalty kill, it's tough because I thought that the last couple kills in the third period, they looked a lot better. Especially Mitch Marner was really good on the penalty kill today. Austin Matthews.
Yeah, he looked way better tonight.
Matthews is a bit hit or miss on the penalty kill for me so far, but I think he'll get better at it. He blocks shots very well. It's just, I think he's still getting used to the positioning on the PK. As for like penalty kill as a whole, though, my biggest problem with them has been giving up way too many clean plays to opponents. We saw this against Montreal, where the Caulfield goal, there was a couple of the bang plays down low where one times are available, and in this game too, there was just a lot of really clean looks. The Devils were able to execute what they were trying to do a little too easily. I know that the Jet Rat goal came on a broken play, but you cannot whiff on clearing a 10 straight up the middle because that's it can happen. It's stuff you learn in like junior hockey. You can't go up the middle like that if there's a chance you're not going to clear it properly, right? So I think the penalty kill has potential. They've at least shown flashes of being decent. It's way too many cleanups for the opponents. The Devils were able to set up and pretty much do whatever they wanted, and it came down to the Leafs blocking a shot, like having to block a shot because they didn't interrupt the pass, or Hildebrand.
They weren't moving their feet enough. They weren't moving their feet. They didn't have good sticks. Like the times that they did clear, it was usually because of like a desperation play, or he was able, they deflect a pass in the middle of the ice, and it's like coincidental because you're standing there. You know what I mean? Like you get a hard cut, and they would deflect the pass the same way.
Yeah,
like don't get me wrong. Like we went for 2, and I'm not really mad. It's just the special teams really bothered me this year.
Yeah, well, it's trends, right? Like that's the whole point of the league. As Leafs fans, we worry more about trends because we know that the wins are going to happen with elite talent on the team. And so when you see the PK giving up a clean look, like sure, they were good after the first look, after the puck ended up in a corner after a block shot or a save. They were good at clearing it after that, but you can't allow those looks to happen against a Boston or Tampa Bay because those are going to be in the back of the net. There was a play that the Devils had where I think it was Meyer standing back door and it just hops over his stick on one of those bang plays. It's way too. It's weird. Way too structured. Again, like the power play is way too focused on their structure. The penalty kill, they're so focused with getting in shooting lanes that they forget they also have to block passes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's the main problem really is the amount of penalties that they've been taking so far this season. Like if they take half as many penalties as they did, as they have been, then maybe these games, maybe we're only up 4-1, and maybe it goes to overtime last night and Caulfield doesn't score on the power play, right? Like last night there was 2 PKs in the first period, and then another 2 in the second, and then 1 in the third. And then tonight we get 1 PK in the first period and then 2 in the second period. Now, the one Timmins interference, that pick was maybe the weakest call I've ever seen ever, but whatever. It's still, another power play, another PK happens immediately following that with the Benoit trip, which was an egregious power play. You had to call it. And then they get another one in the third period. Like, there's just all these egregious penalties that are happening. And it's like, I don't know if you play NHL, like any of the NHL games, but that really affects your team play score, guys, taking all these penalties. So maybe don't do that. Like, it's just, I don't know if it's just like the beginning of the season and the big guys aren't really scoring. And so, maybe Willie's holding the stick a little bit tighter, and they're frustrated that they're not scoring. And maybe that's all relevant. But instead of getting upset and making stupid plays just because you're a little bit desperate and you were out of position and you make a bad decision and that you do it in front of the referee, like, all of those things are a domino effect. And then when you get called on it, you are upsetsies. And thank God he only got called for the one, because there's a really good chance that, New Jersey ends up actually coming back and roaring back to life in the third period with 5 minutes to go. And maybe this game goes to overtime and goes the other way. So, the PK has been decent. The fact of the matter is they're -2 on special teams. They haven't capitalized on any of their power plays. And it's just simply not good enough on both of them so far.
Speaking of the actual penalty calls in this game, have you ever seen a instance where a referee raises his hand to call a penalty and then, because of an unrelated whistle, completely changes his mind?
Not that I remember. No.
That was like the TSN broadcast, and Mike Johnson pointed this out as absolutely ridiculous. So Mitch Marner on the penalty kill. He is skating back into the zone as the Devils collect themselves in the neutral zone, runs into a player, falls down because of the pick, and the referee in the corner of the Leafs end sees it and raises his hand to call a penalty. But because the play was offside, he then lowers his hand and waves it off as if nothing ever happened. That is like, if the Leafs had been losing this game, or if it was a tie game and the Devils went on to score, we're rioting about that for a week.
Yeah.
That I've never seen that before, and I know that officials are questionable is what I was going to go with. Okay. But I've never seen, considering how stubborn refs are, I've never seen a ref change his mind like that.
Yeah, that's new to me. I like I said, I don't remember that happening. That whole play was really just confusing.
We had
it happened, and I actually had the TV muted because I was on a quick phone call, and I was like, what happened? And I hung up my phone call because you can't rewind TSN on the TV, and I literally rewinded with my finger, and I'm like, but there was a penalty, and then there was not a penalty. So apparently, referees can decide on canceling a penalty, right? That's what that tells me.
Yeah, and I mean, luckily we had a puck don't lie moment 30 seconds later where Marner, or there's a high sticking and it gets called and the Leafs go on the power play. Everything is well and dandy. But there's a universe out there where we are talking about that a lot more seriously come today and tomorrow, because that there's potential, if that's the precedent, there's potential for something very bad to happen in a game around the league this year. So just something to monitor.
Well, what happens in that play, if Marner falls over and is tripped and is hurt, right? What if he falls over and twists his ankle and has to be helped off the ice? Are they still going to be well, it was offside, so we can't call it a penalty now?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Didn't.
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine.
And it sounds like the refs were guessing just as much as we were about what to do. I've never seen that. And so all that tells me, like you said, it sets a precedent. Okay, you can decide to not call a penalty then. You can. That is something that you can do. You had your hand up, you put your hand down. Yeah. You do the game, you turn around. So, anyway.
And we know that refs occasionally make calls based on fan reaction, based on player reaction. I've never, you can't change your mind, though. If you're going to call it. So, yeah, I don't know. Just something to monitor. Now, we are going to move on to our third segment here. Dennis Hildeby, making his NHL debut as a result of Joseph Woll being on in reserve and Stolarz playing last night. Comes in, he plays pretty good. I didn't have a lot of complaints. He did look a little antsy in the crease. He looked at times like he just, wasn't quite settled in there. And there was a few times where he was maybe out of position as a result. But because he is so physically large, he's never out of a play. He robbed Jack Hughes on a play coming across where he's just like, even like 6'7", I think. And he just sprawls out and he's going to get across, like he's getting there. He's never going to be fully out of play unless he develops what I like to call Peter Mrazek syndrome of just scrambling around and diving at everything. Like he was very solid. And to have him as your fourth goalie, very content with that.
Yeah, absolutely. He gets first game in the NHL, gets his first win. He definitely looked really strong in the first period. That third period, when the Jersey Devils were really creating a firing range on the league end, he more than once he did look a little bit flustered, a little bit like, oh god, oh god. But it only happened in the third period. Whereas Samsonov, it was every single time the puck was in our end, he was oh god, oh god, oh god, and shifting back and forth. There were only a couple of very small moments, and only in the replay did I notice he'll be really like doing panic movements. Again, they were minimal at best, right? They were at worst. I mean, there was maybe 2 or 3 moments, especially on the where I have it written here, the Benoit roughing penalty in the third period. I actually looked at he looked really flustered in that PK. And then after that, they get another power play, and in that power play is the one where they end up being hemmed into their own zone and playing monkey in the middle with the New Jersey Devils. So in the third period, they maybe didn't provide as much coverage and support in front of Hildeby as they did earlier in the game. It felt like in the first couple periods, the offense was very, very much going and the defense was solid. And then in the third period, there was a lot more like hectic movements from the goalie. And I think it was just, he felt the pressure, and it's very different playing in the NHL or the NHL and facing the Devils and Luke Hughes versus, the Laval Rocket. Right. So it is an up level, and he comes out with a win, only letting 2 goals in. Maybe you can pull up how many shots happened by New Jersey in the game, but I'm very pleased with him. When warm-ups are happening and they're like circling on the ice, it still does not fail to make me giggle how just unbelievably massive he is as a person. Like, he's standing in front of the net and his elbow pads are at the top of the crossbar. Like, it's just silliness.
The Leafs, I think, have the tallest goalie duo in those two, and Joseph Woll is not exactly tiny either. Hildeby saves 22 of 24 shots in this game, a .917 save percentage. You'll take that any day of the week. Like
100%. Better than any goal in the last 3 seasons for the Leafs.
There you go. And, they talked about this on the broadcast a little bit, but it's so important that guys like Woll and Hildeby exist for the Leafs because they have not really had homegrown talent in net since James Reimer. So the fact that Woll has shown you flashes of being a star, Hildeby looks like he could at least develop into an NHL goalie, you'll take that. Like, you need that. That's something that every team around the league has had. You can't pay Matt Murray to be your third goalie every year. There's going to be years where goalies get claimed, right? Because there's not that many NHL caliber goalies. So you need young guys that you can just send through down to the minors at will, and they can come up in a pinch. Like, between Hildeby and Murray, they're going to combine for 15 to 20 games this year, just based on the odds of Woll and Stolarz getting injured. So the fact that Hildeby played as well as he did is a very good sign.
For sure. Now, do you agree with the choice to play Hildeby tonight?
Yeah. I don't think you want to risk Matt Murray going back on waivers again. So I like giving Hildeby a shot. He's shown a lot of flashes in the AHL level. So, I mean, it's one game, right? Early in the season, you might as well.
Yeah, I said it on the stream last night because Andrew asked me, someone in the chat actually asked me who I thought was going to start tonight and Saturday. And I actually said, knowing that Woll is, nursing this tightness wherever it is on his lower body, knowing that he is, not going to be in for another week, and Stolarz playing as well as he did last night, Stolarz has an early opportunity to claim the crease as his own and become the starter just by default. And so if that is going to happen, then we want to obviously protect our starter as much as possible. And for all intents and purposes, for the next week and a half, he's going to be the starter. So he played last night. He, in any season that he's had previously, I don't think he's played more than 35 games. So to start him off with a back-to-back in the first 2 games of the season, I don't think would have been a right decision. I agree with you that I think playing Matt Murray would not have been the ideal. And Hildeby traveled last night with the team. Right? Like, why would you do all of that and then not give the kid an opportunity? We as Leaf fans have been waiting how long? At least a season and a half to see him come up because of his size, because of how good he's been in the AHL. And so I'm really glad that the Buds gave him a chance tonight. And I thought he looked as good as you could hope for a first NHL game. I'm sure that he will get better, the more time that he spends up here. And I think the more he spends up here and the more chance he actually has to play against our quality of player up here. I'm not saying put him up against Connor McDavid because I don't think anybody should be subjected to that without necessity. But he looked good. He looked as good as I could have hoped. And so there was no goal tonight that he let in that I went, oh, I wish he had saved that. Maybe the second one on the Benoit because he gets a piece of it. But that's hockey. That's the way the cookie crumbles. So I couldn't be more pleased with him. We'll see what happens with Joseph Woll when he's hopefully back next week. But so far, if it has to be this week and if it has to be Hildeby and Stillers, I'm totally fine with that. I got no issue.
Yeah, exactly. Same here. So now we'll move into overtime here. Lauren, are there any questions from the chat?
No, not really. I would just say make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure that you share this stream with all of your friends. Obviously, we restarted Game Over not being on SDPN anymore. We did start the main hub channel last season for the playoffs, so there's already a bunch of subscribers there. But if you could go ahead and hit subscribe, if you could hit like on this, if you could share it with any Leaf fans that you know, whether you think they'll watch it or not, it would go a long way, and we would really appreciate it. So that would be, instead of a question, I'm just going to throw that into the pot.
Yeah, and we're very thankful for all of you checking out Game Over. We hope that you'll spend some time with us this season after every single Leafs game. And apologies for the technical difficulties in this stream. It seems my little computer here is obviously not. It's
okay.
It happens, but stick with us, and we'll. I promise it won't happen again. So
even if it does, we'll get through it. It's fine. Also, want to say hi to Josh from Game On Toronto. What's up, buddy? Welcome. Happy to have you here, man. John, if you have any questions or you think we should talk about anything, please feel free to throw it into the chat. So, what are we doing for the last segment, then? What do you think we should do?
Ooh, let's. What are you most looking forward to, like in the next stretch of games? Let's say.
Let me pull the games up because I haven't even though we had a call like 4 days ago and I don't remember how many games.
So we have Pittsburgh on Saturday. I think LA next Wednesday.
Yeah, and then the Rangers next Saturday.
Yeah. So let's say we have a 4-game homestand: Penguins, Kings, Rangers, Lightning. Out of these 4 games, what are you most looking forward to? What do you want to see from the team?
I would like to see the power play connect. I would like to see it change. I would like to never see that combination of players again. It would be really nice if we could beat Kyle Dubas Penguins on Saturday. They got their tushies kicked last night. So if we could add to that Payne, it would be fabulous. Don't get me wrong. I loved Kyle when he was here, but you're not on my team anymore, so bye-bye. Beating Sheldon Keefe and Kyle Dubas' teams back-to-back would taste pretty good. So that's my hope. We got the win tonight. Let's hope we get the win on Saturday. The Kings game on Wednesday. I'm kind of rolling the dice on what's going to happen there. And then the Rangers on next Saturday. Shesterkin set up a wonderful shutout last night. He proved to the league why he is a over $11 million a year goalie. It remains to be seen what he is going to get paid. Maybe he gets paid before that. But I anticipate not super great goaltending on this coming Saturday against the Penguins. And that's my hope. I hope I beat our former coach and our former GM back-to-back on tonight and Saturday. How about yourself?
I would like Austin Matthews to stop hitting the post. Quite simply. I think he's had, 3 so far in 2 games? So, yeah, let's knock that off. Let's start actually scoring goals. I will say, as for the, the core, Tavares got 1, but between Marner, Nylander, Matthews, you can tell, like, in the preseason, a little bit of going through the motions because you know that they're going to play. Their spot's not in jeopardy or anything. That's probably why the depth has looked so good beside them because, these are guys that have been busting their ass off trying to fight for a spot, and now, they're ready to go. So let's get those 3, the biggest 3 players on this team, to get up and going, get on the score sheet because, you cannot have your $35 million tied up in 0 points.
Yeah, the fact that Steven Lorentz has twice as many points as Austin Matthews right now does not spark joy.
Yeah, so that's what I'll be looking for is just let the big guys get on the score sheet. Let's get some the good vibes flowing back at home. But again, thank you everyone to tuning into the stream, tuning into the show. We hope to see you throughout the season, and in the meantime, we'll see you guys next time. Go Leafs, go!
Go Leafs, go.
All right, outro's playing.
Nice. Good one, buddy.
Yeah, my
How you
computer.
feel?
Well, my computer had a doozy of a time. Hold on, I'll stop
Yeah,
this.
your computer had a bit of a meltdown.
Yeah, one moment.
No, that's okay.
I'm just gonna stop the stream here.
Yeah, it's all good.
It's thinking about it.
It always takes a second.